What's going on, good sir?
Hey, Hotep, Abaragani, Brother Hoyt.
Yes,
Everything
sir.
cool?
Yes, sir. Look, let me knock this intro out real quick. So, welcome back to a brand new episode of No Truce Barred, the best up and coming podcast on the internet. And I'm your host, Hoyt Kwaku Simmons. And I want to thank anybody that has listened to any of the previous 62 episodes. So, all of those episodes can be found on SoundCloud, Spotify, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Also, make sure you check out my new show, which is Truth Sessions. So I take that show and I get into a little bit of philosophy, certain axioms that I believe in, certain social critiques. So make sure you check that out as well. And also, I never want to ever let an episode go by without thanking any and everybody that's contributed a piece of constructive criticism, decided to share a piece of content. I definitely appreciate it. And so I thank you guys for participating and helping me to grow and expand this platform. Now, without further ado, I have a brother on today that I consider a heavy intellectual, a brother that's a leader doing a lot of great things out in the tri-state area, an entrepreneur, the man of 1,001 holds like Dean Malenko. Um, but a really powerful brother, an organizer, a manager of artists, so many different things. Without further ado, I have my good friend and brother on, Baruti Libre. Thank you for coming on to the No Truth Barred podcast today. How you doing, sir?
Hey, peace and blessings, King. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for inviting me onto the podcast, and also what you're doing is commendable, what you're doing is honorable, and also not to mention your intellectual power helps your health. We've been
Thank you,
building for
sir.
like over 10 years via social media. We connected a couple of times and things of that nature, and it's an honor to build with you in this digital space or this virtual space that is, because it shows us indicative of the fact that we're adapting to the technology, which has been occurring. And also, we live in the age of technology. We live in the age of the fourth industrial revolution, and it's great to see that we're still on top of it, making it happen. And I'm doing well. Thank you.
Indeed, man, and to take that to like, if we want to look at the ontological perspective of that, we living in the age of Ogun, man. They say Ogun rules technology and iron, and that sort of paradigm. But I want to allow you, not me. I can be rather verbose, so I want to allow you to introduce yourself because you are known. You are very known. But the people here in the Virginia area, man, introduce yourself, man. Who is Baruti Libre? What are you getting into, man? And just overall, man, explain it, bro. Tell the people about yourself, man.
Hey, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, my full name is Baruti Libre Kafele, or you could call me Baruti, Barut, Libre, whatever. But I'm Baruti Libre, and I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm African-centered, libertarian, red pill perspective as well. And I'm an entrepreneur. I have my clothing brand, which is Libre brand. We have jackets, we have hats, we have
Hold on, bro. You're
shirts,
kind of breaking up a
we have
little bit.
medallions. You could go on LibreBrand.com for the merchandise. I'll cut this up a bit. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
All
Am
right.
I good?
Yeah, you're good. We're back. We're back. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Excellent, excellent. Is it clear on my end, or is it a little
You're good.
blurry?
Now, you kind of were it was a little blurry and whatnot, and you were kind of fading in and out, but you're good now. You're good.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, pardon me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My name is Baruti Libre Kafele, or for short Baruti Libre. Shorter than that, call me Barut. From Jersey City, New Jersey, over in the tri-state area, 5 minutes from New York City. And I have a clothing brand by the name of Libre brand. I have one of the shirts on. We have jackets, we have hats, we have medallions, what have you. So I'm in the accessory and also the textile business, which is clothing. And also, not to mention, I just obtained my real estate broker's license as well. So Libertas Realty is about to be a virtual real estate brokerage firm as well. So we're about to kick that off very soon. But the thing is that I'm working one step at a time. I have a whole bunch of projects right now that I'm looking to put together. And with me as an independent and as an autonomous creative slash entrepreneur, as you know, it takes more diligence, it takes more resilience, it takes more organization, because in essence, you're doing it yourself, or you're doing it with a whole bunch of fellow independents who believe in your movement, who believe in your entity, and who believe in the vision for that. So In essence, that's what I'm working on myself. And as far as my perspective, just like the intellectual powerhouse right here, Brother Hoyt, I'm African-centered, but also the concomitant factors of that is that I'm libertarian as far as my economic and political perspectives, along with the cultural Afrocentric perspective, which one could argue is political as well, which is also spiritual as well, which is also economic as well, which is also ontological and the various other factors as well. But also, not to mention, I'm red pill as well. So you could say that I'm an Afrocentric libertarian red pill individual or intellectual, that is.
Indeed. And brother, you mentioned a myriad of things, and I definitely want to touch on all of those. But first and foremost, I remember when you actually launched Libre brand, bro. Like, I remember when you tagged me in it. I remember like the medallions and the necklaces and the jackets. And it was real when I saw Dr. Kaba wearing your joint. And I was like, I was like, dude, wait a minute. Dr. Kaba is wearing like some of your brand. And before we actually get into the Libre brand itself, I would like for you to do this for me, because I think in the period of social media and this epoch that we're in, I think entrepreneurship is kind of often over romanticized. I think we get to see like the glitz and the glamour, but we don't ever see the other side of that coin. And so before you explain like what was the impetus for you to start Libre brand, and I love the motifs because, we're both into the comedic, sciences as well. So I love the motifs with your brand. But before you get into that, what would you say is some of the caveats you would put out? Oh, my brother faded. Hold on. Oh, wait. He left the session. Go ahead and add him. All right. We back. We back in business. Okay. All right. But not to get the topic, but essentially I just kind of wanted to, before you kind of get into like your reason for starting Libre brand and choosing the particular motifs that you use in your clothing line, what are some things that you feel might be kind of slightly exacerbated and over romanticized when you see this craze where everybody believes they want to be the entrepreneur without putting in the work and the sweat equity of becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, this is the thing right here. If one is becoming an entrepreneur, if one wants to become an entrepreneur, one needs to understand this. It's not all glitz and glamour. It's not all gold and platinum. It's not all roses and daisies. It takes a lot of diligence. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of sleepless nights. It takes a lot of early mornings. It takes a lot of determination, a lot of wear and tear on the body, a lot of critical thinking, a lot of quick thinking, a lot of challenges, a lot of hindrances, a whole lot of that as it relates to entrepreneurialism or as it relates to entrepreneurship. Because the thing is that you need to be disciplined. You need to motivate yourself. You need to be analytical as it relates to your mindset. You need to look at your profits. You need to look at your losses. You need to stay on track with your revenue and expenses or your expenditures. You need to continuously think about ways of marketing, things of promoting, things of knowing your product, things of adapting to your product, adapting to your clientele, knowing your clientele, knowing when to switch your clientele if you need to do that. So being an entrepreneur requires a lot of discipline. It's not like you could just wake up and just start a business. You need to make sure that you're choosing a product which is demandable. And if it's not demandable, you need to find a way to make it demandable and make sure that you cater to the right audience. Because the key to entrepreneurship is alertness to opportunity, monetizing the needs of your potential client base or your potential customers, knowing what your customer wants, knowing what your customer needs, and making sure that you can monetize that. Because in essence, when you're an entrepreneur, you're a problem solver, but you put in a price tag to solving that problem. You need to make sure that you're meeting the needs of the client or meeting the desires or meeting the imaginations of the client. But of course, making sure that it's profitable, making sure that your expenditures don't exceed your revenue. But at the same time, though, if you look at the grow long term, expenditures may have to exceed your revenue because it takes money to make money. You see what I mean? So it's very scientific, it's very intricate, more so than what one seeing. It's not just about perception, it's about profitability. Profitability over perception if one wants to sustain in business.
And I love that you elucidated on that particular aspect of entrepreneurship, because I think people want to put like CEO in their social media handle and, they want to, put on suits. But like, a brother like yourself, I've seen the work that you do. And it definitely, it's a lot of intellectual rigor. It's a lot of creative rigor. And from what I would assume from watching entrepreneurs such as yourself and other brothers and sisters that I know that run businesses, it's a skill in handling people in dealing with different personalities. So enough with that. And I want to segue into Libre brand, freedom of flyness, excuse me. I love the symbolism. I love the motifs that you put in it. I think it's brilliant. I think it harkens back, word to Sankofa, all of that. So I want to allow you to explain, one, what even inspired you to even want to do a clothing line? And two, why did you choose to put those specific forms of symbolism in your clothing line as well?
Well, the thing about it is this, like, first and foremost, I have an African-centered perspective. And of course, with being African-centered, Kemet is inclusive of that, since ancient Kemet or ancient Nubia, all those civilizations of the Nile Valley were African civilizations, meaning that, or all black civilizations. But of course, as you know, preaching to the choir as far as that, the concept of black and white and things of that nature, based on the Western perspective of it, didn't exist back then. But of course, you know, we did have we did have different classifications on the walls of Kemet, like the Nubian phenotypically looked like this, the Kemite phenotypically looked like this, or should I say the Indo-European or the Greek look like this. But it's not based on the understanding of what we know of it as today. But if we were to go into a time machine and take the ancient Kemites and bring them, transport them or teleport them over to the 21st century, they would look like us, meaning that Sharpman would probably stop them on a traffic stop or trying to be aggressive to them like what they did, with George Floyd, rest in peace. But that's another discussion right there. So the thing about it is this, with me being African-centered, with me studying the aesthetics, the historicity, the symbolism, and everything else as it relates to ancient Kemet, I wanted to incorporate that into fashion, but make it fashionable, not make it like corny, but make it relatable to our times and day and age. So that's why I wanted to start the clothing brand, and I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to have the artistic and creative license in order to do that, metaphorically speaking. So that's an idea that I put together. You see, but in this day and age, I want to do something else. I'm still going to keep the Brave brand going, but I think that my maturation has increased, my thought pattern has increased, my mindset has increased as it relates to how the world really operates. So the thing about it is that, a 20-year-old me, that was the Brave brand, and I'm going to keep that going, obviously, but I want to evolve into something else. You see what I mean?
Yeah, you never want to be at a point of stasis. It's always about movement. It's always about evolution. And even with perspectives, one of the things for me was that I was always Nile Valley centered, and I want to get into this a little bit later, but I was always Nile Valley centered in my study of Africa and antiquity. And from there, I realized that even with that, there was a lot more layers I had to peel back. I started getting stuff like about Napata Playa and all these different astronomical observatories we had up and down the Nile Valley. And it's just I love, when I first saw you do that, I just loved it because you're such an astute brother. I knew there was like volumes of depth behind that meaning and why you even go in that lane. So I just thought it was mad dope and fresh that you even went that way, But I want to move on to your real estate investment firm. Look, I'm gonna put this out there. So, with your real estate investment firm, I think that was definitely something profound, a really dope step to take, because a lot of Black people aren't really going in that particular lane. So one, I want you to clear this up for the people. What makes you different from a person? And like you may feel this is kind of like more banal knowledge, but just to clear it up for the listener, what makes you different from a real estate agent versus a broker versus being into real estate investment? And secondly, what inspired you to start Libre LLC?
Yes. Well, the fact of the matter is this, as far as, when I first started Libre, it was to get into the wholesaling aspect of things, which is basically an eclectic of real estate investing and also brokering. But the thing is that, legally, in order to be a real estate broker, one has to be involved with, bringing a ready, willing, and able buyer and a motivated seller together to engage into a real estate transaction. You see what I mean? Involving titles, involving land, involving the property rights and things of that nature. And as far as real estate wholesaling, that is in essence, putting the property under contract with the intentionality of you purchasing the property initially, and then eventually assigning the contract to, someone who's, looking to purchase the property with the higher price, but which is still, within market value, or should I say below market value. And then in between, you obtain the proceeds. Like, for example, if you were to meet with someone that is a motivated seller of a property, and they're looking to sell the property for hypothetically $80,000, then from there you will write out a LOI or a letter of consent, or you will put together a real estate contract, and then you would agree to $80,000 for the acquisition of that property, within a specified period of time. And then within that specified period of time, it is your job in order to assign that contract or sell that contract to another buyer, for any amount. It could be any amount between $1 to $10,000 or even higher than that, but something reasonable within market value. So then when you sell that, the property would in essence be $90,000 hypothetically, and then you will keep that $10,000 balance. You see, but that's assigned to the contract. But then again, you would have to make sure that you find a ready, willing, and able buyer within a specified time frame. Because if you're not able to do that based on the terms and conditions, then you'll breach the contract, and either that contract is null and void, or you would have to purchase that property outright. You may not have that amount in order to purchase that property. So when it comes to wholesaling, I say that you speak with a credible, reputable, and knowledgeable attorney as it relates to the terms and conditions, you see. But the thing about it is that with wholesaling, that's not really my thing right there. Like, I'm more so into real estate brokerage, that is, and I obtained my real estate license in 2015. But eventually, I let that license. Eventually, that license did go void because I wasn't, practicing full time for that matter, because the Libre brand was already, doing pretty well. And the thing is that was consuming a whole lot of my time right there, because running the clothing line, it has a lot of its intricacies, exercise in and of itself. You see, but the thing is that in 2017, that was when I decided to reactivate my real estate license, and I decided to work at a firm called White Realtor so that I could learn more about the business, learn more about the trade. Because in order for me to operate as a brokerage firm, or broker of record with my own real estate brokerage firm, and not real estate wholesaling / investment firm, I would have to be 3 years full time. So that's what I did from 2017 to 2020. And then the pandemic hit, so I was working on ways, getting into how I live to raise funds, and now we're here. I have the real estate brokerage license to own and operate the office of Libre LLC. So Libre LLC will, in essence, be a real estate brokerage firm, and also a real estate investment firm as well. And I could jump back into the investment, but I don't want to do that, because I'm looking at the market and I'm studying the politics behind what's going on in the world. And I don't think that this is the best time to invest in real estate, contrary to popular belief, because it's very competitive right now. Everyone's buying, properties, and we may enter into a boom possibly due to the fact that, things are about to start opening up and things of that nature. And also a lot of folks are looking to buy a property due to the governmental subsidies and also the governmental payouts because of the COVID-19 pandemic or pandemic, depending on one's perspective on that. So the thing about it is that, with me, I'm waiting, and also I have other innovations that I'm working on as well, which I'll get into probably later in the future.
No doubt. Really quick, anybody that's listening to this particular episode, if they wanted to come to you, do you have, like, if someone wanted consulting as far as like getting into a particular field and they wanted to reach out, is that something you do for like a specific, like, could they like maybe do business with you in that capacity? Because I'm just thinking about that, because I know people are going to listen to this and they may have like some sort of like just kind of neophyte interest in that particular industry. Could they reach out to you and possibly, of course, pay for that sort of consultation from you?
Oh yeah, definitely so. We can certainly do a consultation. And the thing about it is that I'm affordable when it comes to price, but then again, affordable is relative at the same time. But we could definitely make something happen. But if one pays, then I'll definitely give a variety of information. I'll definitely give a quality information within that time frame, and it's up to you, the listener, in order to implement that, in order to make things happen. But as far as giving the information, certainly so, because instead of you buying 10 books and then utilizing 6 months in order to study the 10 books for that same price, we could have a conversation for an hour or two. You could take the notes and then you can implement the information that I'll disseminate.
Yeah, indeed. Switching lanes again. So one of the things that caught me, I know a few years back, you started to put out articles, you started to do a few lectures around the political ideology of libertarianism. And it kind of it kind of piqued my interest as well, because one of the things I got kind of sick of was like the quotidian rhetoric that you would get from both the left and the right. I kind of feel like it's as Jesse Ventura would say, it's a two-party dictatorship. They have a biopoly, if you will, on political discourse. And then I have like extreme castigations of both the right and the left. And once again, I'll put this out there, kind of preface what I'm about to say. By any means, I am no expert in libertarianism, nor anarcho-capitalism, which I started to kind of read a little bit about as well. But it's something that is kind of like pulling me in a little bit more the more that I learn about it. And I feel like for the Black community, I truly think it's something that we should be a little bit more open to. I think it's something we should be willing to learn more about. And with that being said, one, what kind of pulled you into studying libertarianism, a lot more, and actually begin to write on it as well? And then I guess my follow-up question to that would be, what relevance do you see or you think could be with libertarianism? How could that be applicable to the Black community as to solving some of our issues?
Boy, you have some very profound questions right there. Well, the thing about it is that with libertarianism, to be honest with you, I don't know what specifically caused me to start studying libertarianism, to be honest and candid with you, because especially back during them days, during the early and mid parts of the last decade, that was when I was voraciously into my reading. I'm still reading and studying now, but I'm shifting gears. It's not really into history or into politics. I still read, various articles and things of that nature. But the thing is that I'm studying more, specializing into the trades and the crafts that I'm in. But what led me into libertarianism, I'm not specifically sure. But when I read it, it just made sense to me. It was like, yes, if we applied a lot of these principles to our lives as a people, I think that this will be the impetus to take us to a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. This will be the catalyst which could take us to a whole nother level. This could be the tool which could take us to a whole nother level, because libertarianism is a mindset, it's a philosophy, it could be an economic system and things of that nature. And libertarianism is, in essence, emphasizing the individual and the family to solve problems economically within our communities, besides relying on the state and besides relying on the government to intervene and solve our problems. It's, in essence, doing for self. It's, in essence, being autonomous of the state. It's, in essence, being sovereign of the state. It is, in essence, one solving problems through creation, through creating solutions to problems. But in essence, if you think about it, there's no such thing as an end-all be-all solution. It's all about trade-offs within life, meaning that you have this problem, you rectify this problem. But when you rectify this problem, you have another problem. And then when you have this problem, you rectify that problem. But then when you rectify that, there's another problem that comes with it. So it's a continuum of problems. But then again, you're coming up with solutions within something called the free market. There's a difference between the free market system and also capitalism. And as a matter of fact, one could even argue the system that we live in is not based on capitalism. It's based on crapitalism. It's based on cronyism. It's based on crony capitalism, to the point in which you have the governmental apparatus, you have a public system that is put in place, and then you have only certain individuals who are cronies, who are connected and affiliated with certain folks who are representatives or who are politicians within that system. And since they're politicians within that system, then they have a monopolistic control over that system, because they have the exclusivity to negotiate certain contracts within that system, to the point in which they have the control or police power of the government to back them, and they could be able to profit off of the people within that system, because they have exclusive rights to certain industries. And if you want to get into that industry, then you need to pay taxes. You need to have a license. You need to go past different tests. And then the people that are the ones that orchestrate those tests, they have exclusive government contracts in order to create those tests. So that is crony capitalism. It's based on a patron clientelistic system.
And that is you actually kind of jumped ahead, because that's why I was going to go there next, because I wanted to get into the crony capitalism. I wanted to kind of and not even just the concept, like just the way you look at the contracts like our government has with like DynCorp and all these other arms manufacturers and whatnot. And even this whole concept of too big to fail, it's like, where's the invisible hand? Where it truly is the free market? And one of my concerns is that so I'm here in Virginia, right? And our governor, essentially, he was going to legalize recreational marijuana in 2024. That's what they were shooting for. Now they pushed it up because they've been pressured. They're pushing it up for July 1st. Now, here's the issue. Virginia's a commonwealth. Now, the way to sell liquor here is that you have to go into a government-owned store and purchase your liquor. If you wanted to get into that business to own a liquor store, there's no opportunity here for you in the state of Virginia. You're locked out of that market. And what my fear is that here in Virginia, when they legalize marijuana, they're going to do the exact same thing with marijuana here. When it comes to the cannabis industry, is that they're going to have these state stores that you got to go to. And if you have the means or the capital to get into that industry, you can't do it here in the state of Virginia. I'm going to kind of digress a little bit, but since I'm on this topic, you're in New Jersey. And from what I understand, they just legalized recreational cannabis out of New Jersey. Am I correct?
Well, definitely. You could say that. You could say that there's still some regulations there as it relates to that, but you could say that. And the thing is that I'm not too knowledgeable about that because I'm not that much of a smoker myself. But the thing about it, and I'm not knocking it, I'm myself. But the thing about it is that yes, they are taking big steps towards that. Let's put it like that.
And so I look at that, but back to the point, I kind of jumped off topic, but my point being is that we have kind of like a fictive and a misunderstanding concept of capitalism. And then I think, a lot of our leaders, like if you go back to the past, you look at people like Kwame Ture, and, one of their things was they were big into like being, Black socialists. And then if you go like a little bit more left, our great ancestor, Brother Walter Rodney, who was like kind of a huge Marxist as well. And it was kind of always this dichotomy of what is the solution? But, some of the different economists I've listened to, like I said, one of my favorite people to look at some of his lectures, like I said, is Jesse Ventura. And even some of the points that you made, and believe it or not, man, I actually read some of your articles, brother, and that's what even kind of abetted in my growth and my knowledge as well. And if you get a chance, shout out where people can find your articles when we get to the end of the episode, because I think people should go and read those. But when you look at libertarianism, I think it provides a more pragmatic way to form some of these solutions that plague our community, in my opinion. Why do you think initially a lot of our activists were so attracted towards like socialist rhetoric and kind of dogma almost, if you will? Like, what do you think was the attraction there?
No, the reason why is, and it's totally understandable. This is the thing. When we look at Western society, if we look at the shadows of Western society, or should I say, we look at the formation of Western society, one cannot deny the ignominious and the disgraceful system of slavery. Previous to that, feudalism, but most importantly, slavery, chattel slavery, and also the internationalization of molasses, rum, and also the commoditization, objectification, and also the genocidal destruction of our people through slavery. So the thing about it is that through the international commerce of us as a people, human trafficking, that is, since we want to talk about human trafficking again, let's not forget that the only reason why we're here and having the Zoom conversation here in the Western Hemisphere is because of human trafficking, folks. Especially you folks on the higher ups. A lot of your grandfathers and grandmothers were involved in human trafficking of us. And I don't care if you get mad about it. I'm out here. But anyway, to get back to the subject matter at hand, the thing about it is that that history has been affiliated with capitalism, the free enterprise system. That's what they correlate it as. A lot of these Caucasian folks that were involved with a lot of the early wealth within this country, which it plays an interconnected role with the human trafficking of our people. A lot of them coined that as the free enterprise system. And the thing about it is that a lot of the early writers, as it relates to liberty, and also, within the libertarian community, a lot of the writers of Thomas Jefferson, as it relates to individualism, as it relates to, his philosophy as it relates to democracy and his participatory democracy and also the free enterprise. A lot of libertarians, a lot of them coined Thomas Jefferson and also the various others. But what we need to understand is this: a lot of these so-called early capitalists owned enslaved Africans. So the thing about it is that was around the time of the 18th century when a lot of these views were championed. But let's not forget about the 19th century. You had a dialectical view. from Hegel and from Karl Marx and the various others. So, of course, with a lot of black folks coming into the late 19th century and also the 20th century, leading to the decolonization movement, it was easy for them to gravitate to the working class and thinking that the solution was for, the majority to rule and things of that nature, the proletarian working class and also the empowerment of the state. But what we need to understand is this, when that became practiced and implemented within places like Africa, within the various countries of Africa and the various countries of the Caribbean, it actually caused more problems with our people. It caused more problems for various countries that practice communism and socialism and things of that nature. So what we need to understand is this: the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and to expect different results. So since communism has failed, and since we begin to study capitalism and realize that what we see is not really capitalism, is crony capitalism / welfare statism. We need to practice real libertarianism, and once we practice real libertarianism, then we'll begin to see changes. We've seen real libertarianism happen within various wealthy communities of the late 19th century and early 20th century within our history, whether we look at Tulsa, whether we look at early Richmond, whether we look at early Greensboro, whether we look at parts of Florida. We've seen that. But then, of course, the crony capitalists or the capitalists, begin to invade those areas with their white vigilante groups. That's what we saw with Tulsa and also with a lot of the other massacres which have occurred. Whether we look at the systemic implementation of policies in order to destroy our black communities throughout the country or what have you, we've seen a lot of that happen. So now we need to look at libertarianism, Afrocentric libertarianism, in order to rectify these issues. Not relying on the government to solve our problems, because all they have done was cause more problems, and then creating our own opportunities so that we could rectify our own problems. You see, because if we look at the private sector is responsible for innovation, automation, and also a lot of wealth within our communities and also communities globally outside of our race. So that's what we need to look at.
Yeah, very much so. And I think another thing to point out, and people like even I looked at like people like Paul Robeson, even some of Langston Hughes' work. He talked about a lot of these white socialists and the white communists and the racism they had towards black people that were trying to participate in those communist movements. So it's like, and John Henry Clark talked about the same thing. He said, people thought that was the answer, to run and look at Leon Trotsky or to run and look at, Marx or any of these other people or Lenin, but they held a lot of the same racist views and had a different paradigm of Eurocentric supremacy versus the Western paradigm of it. So it's kind of like two competing ideologies fighting for the African mind. And so it truly wasn't like an alternative. And so speaking of that, I want to kind of move into how you and I first started to converse. I know way back in the day, it seemed like forever ago, but way back in the day, our point of conversation dealt a lot with, African-American history, African philosophy as well. When you get into some of the Kemetic teachings or more the Nile Valley teachings or what have you. And then we had a lot of different minds and intellectuals that we would reference a lot. Some of my people were people like Sheikh Anta Diop, people like Dr. John Henry Clark, people like J.A. Rogers, and then other people that I began to kind of expose myself to, like Dr. Nell Irvin Painter, et cetera. So I want to ask you first, who is Dr. Amos Wilson? I'll be remiss if I don't mention that name. I'm sorry about that. But I want to ask you, when it comes to, like I said, initially, looking at our history and our people, who are some of the minds that impacted you when you're talking about the studying of African history or the history of African people, not just on the continent, but out in the diaspora as well? I mean, there's so many minds, but just some notable individuals that had an impact on your research.
Hey, the same names that you mentioned, and also Dr. Joseph Nyakinen as well.
Yeah.
Not to mention also, like you said, Dr. Amos Wilson. Can't forget about him. Dr. Malana Karenga as well. We can't forget Baba Kaba Kameen. It's so many. It's so many countless. So many countless names. I had to give it up to Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois as he got older. Because during the early part of the 20th century, I was more of a Booker T. Washington kind of guy. But as he got older, he started to, mature in his political views and also his perspective on things. Dr. Ayite from Ghana. It's so many. It's so many to name.
And I want to real quick, since we're on this, I want to shout out some that I feel like don't get a lot of mention. He's taught out of the University of Chicago, the ancestor now, Dr. Jacob Carruthers. He did his own buried of Medu Neter. Definitely Theophilo Benga, who was basically a partner. Some of those people as well. Well, but to kind of like move it along, here we are. We're in 2021. You mentioned that, you know, we're in the fourth industrial revolution. We're in the epoch of technology, the age of information. We talked a lot about economics. We talked a lot about entrepreneurship. In 2021, where does the study, like how you and I studied African history, how relevant is it for younger people coming up, in your opinion, to, you know, maybe know about like the Dogon and know about Timbuktu, or know about Mali or Merowe or any of these other societies that we had that produced great sciences and art, trade, commerce, literature, architecture, etc. What does that look like in 2021? Is it something that's relevant for young people to really research and know, kind of like how we did? What's your opinion on that?
Yes, it's definitely relevant to know your history. It's definitely relevant to know where you came from for the purpose of self-determination, for the purpose of self-awareness, for the purpose of potentiality, for the purpose of knowing that you have a higher purpose. But one cannot get stuck in the past.
Yeah.
One has to know it, but now it's time to implement, to know about what's going on in the world, the trends of what's going on in the world, seeing problems that are occurring in the world, and finding out ways in order to solve these problems in this fourth industrial revolution that we're living in. So it's not just a matter of just knowing it, just to know it, just to have conversations and just to build and things of that nature. It's all about really building, so that you can create opportunities and also solve a lot of these problems that have been affecting us for the past 400 years since we've been in North and South America and the Caribbean, dealing with a lot of these problems that they've inflicted upon us.
I agree. So this is the way I look at history. I look at history as a continuum. Like I don't look at it as being episodic. So I look at us as still living in the 1492 paradigm. I believe like that particular point, it affects us now. But with that being said, it's not, I would not say that it's more so not living in the past, but you're looking at, okay, these are the tools that produce. And I know people at the PhD level, they'll say, hey, it's not causation, it's correlation, not causation. I know a lot of people would say that.
Right.
Oh, my brother say that. But, but anyway, I know a lot of people would say that. But for me, I look at it like I'm researching the variables and the different events that produce the current paradigm that I live under. And a lot of times what we do is when we look at problems in society, we may say, well, why is the Black family so fractured? We would just look at it as many people, not you and I, as a kind of like a face level insular view where it just happened because we're incompetent and we're not looking at the variables that got us there. But at the same time, we also have to make sure that we're building tangible things. We can't just sit around on the corner and build on the 120 all day. Like we got to be working towards stuff. I know a lot of people, you know, let's build, God, let's talk on this. Let's speak on that. But if it's not evolving into something tangible, then it's just us kind of pontificating on all of these arcane issues and being armchair. So with that being said, to take this a little bit further, what's your opinion on someone that would go to college now and pursue a degree, let's say in African studies or African American studies?
Like I said, you know, there's a purpose for someone to do that, or for a group of people, or for a cadre or entity of people to study African history and then teach the information. But the thing about it is that, you know, it's not for everyone. Meaning that's why we have specialization of labor, which is a part of libertarianism as well. You know, everyone can't be the teacher. Everyone can't be the teacher. Everyone can't be the scholar or the professor. Everyone has a role to play. So I'm definitely for that. But the thing about it is that, you know, it's not everyone's lane. But it's incumbent or imperative for everyone to know African history, African culture, and for a sense of pride, for a sense of purpose, and also for a sense of ethics, for a sense of morals and principles in order to live by. You see what I mean? It's not just to be egotistical and condescending towards one another. It's for the purpose of us knowing our purpose, as a people, so that we could be able to work interdependently amongst one another. Not, I won't say collectively with the socialist implication, nor I won't say hyper individually based on the so-called Western perspective. I'm speaking interdependently because, of course, we are our own individuals, but we need to understand that we have a cause that we're fighting for in order for us to get liberated as a people and for us to advance as a people. You see, that's the thing about it right there. So, so the thing is that there's a role as far as that, I'm definitely for the continuum of our story in order to get disseminated. But like I said before, we need to, of course, create the future as well. And don't get me wrong, we have theory relativity and time is all relative.
Yeah.
I understand all that. Realistically speaking, the thing about it is that what we need to understand is this. What we need to understand is this. We're not wearing cloth around our phallics anymore. Wearing sandals. Let's be realistic. We need to understand. We need to understand that we need to innovate during this time that we're living in.
One of the things one of my mentors pointed out to me, and I think it was very astute, and I think this is kind of maybe the perspective that we should have. Let's look at it like a pie chart. So if I'm looking at the solution or the resolution towards ending or solving African-based issues, I can look at it like, okay, my place is in the entrepreneurial space. My space is in the political space. My space may be in academia. And that way, one is interdependent, but we also can specialize. And then to tie that into like the economic factor, you get paid off of being a specialist. A lot of times that's how you really are able to make money. So even people that we look at, let's say like a Dr. Kaba, he's a specialist in that particular lane of knowledge or information, if you will. So I think that's a good way to look at it, to divide it up and choose how do you want to play a part in solving the problem. So you have your lane, you're here, you're doing real estate. You also write a lot of great articles as well. You've done Libre brand, you've done lectures. So you have your lane. Podcasting is one of my mediums, it's one of my lanes, but I have other lanes as well that I want to use towards solving these issues. So to move away from that, I want to get real quick before you head out, man. I want to get you on some hip hop talk real quick. Okay. So I want to get you on some hip hop talk. From what I know, and definitely help me here and elucidate, you managed or you promoted artists in the Jersey area. I think one of them I remember is a brother by the name of Fora. Tell me about your time doing that, man. How was that experience?
It was a good experience. Don't get me wrong, it was turbulent though, because when you're dealing with artists, a lot of the time, when you're dealing with art, you operate off the right side of your brain, which is based on creativity, which is based on sentimentality, which is based on emotionality. And the thing about that is that with that side of the brain, it could be it could be unpredictable. It's still a brilliant side of the brain, but it's unpredictable as well. It's not based on quote logic end quotes, but then again, what is logic? You see what I mean? Everyone's different definitions and interpretations of that based on one's culture and things of that nature. So when you're dealing with that, it was a beautiful experience as far as creativity goes and dealing with different creators at the same time. But then again, when you're dealing with that, you have to understand that at the artist perspective, a lot of the time is priority. You see what I mean? But then again, there has to be equilibrium or balance, because what's creativity may not be complementary to what may be profitability. You see what I mean? And the thing is that we're seeing a lot of those issues now in the mainstream music industry with a lot of the artists that are coming out.
Yeah, and once again, it ties it to kind of having that acumen or that EQ. A lot of times we talk about IQ, but EQ is just being able to really deal with the myriad of emotions, the sundry of perspectives that you're going to deal with when you're working with various artists. Because I think I told you I used to rap back in the day, and be in a rap group. And being in a rap group is one of the hardest things ever, because you're dealing with so many different personalities and egos, especially amongst men. Everybody wants to be the alpha. If you got a group of men together. Also, I want to ask you, one time, man, a few years ago, I had this brother who I consider real intelligent, very wise, and he went by the name of B Knowledge, and he actually sent me a freestyle. And I don't know if you know this individual. His name's B Knowledge, man. He went by that. And I want to know if he's still trying to write rhymes, man, if he's still trying to hit that booth. And do you know him? Do you know him?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I ain't seen him in a long time. You know, I ain't seen him in a long time and all that. now, the thing about it is this. Like, like, you know, as far as rap goes, you know, I love the art form. You see what I mean? I love the culture. Like, I met this one young lady the other day. She was in my car, and she said, "You play a lot of different kinds of music." She said, "Do you plan on rapping?" I said, "I can rap, but it's not anything that I'm passionate about, you know, doing as far as monetization or anything like that." Like, I'm busy with other things as far as my mindset and things of that nature. But the thing is that, you know, if an opportunity comes for me to write for someone, I'll write. I'll write something. You know? I could always take, you know, residual income in order to, you know, fund my endeavor. You know,
Indeed.
which will of course be beneficial for the marketplace and beneficial for our people.
Indeed. If you if DJ Premier came out the cut, he was like, "Yo, I follow you. I got a beat. I want you to get on it." You picking that pen up?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll pick the pen up, you know, but the terms got to make sense. Like I said, you know, I'm a very busy person these days.
Indeed,
so
indeed.
If it makes sense, then we'll make it happen. It will have to make sense.
Okay, I want to get your opinion on this, because you know everybody. Once again, like I said, hip hop is kind of rather hyper masculine, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. But we always want to talk about who the GOAT is, and I have like my own perspective on that. One, I think it's relative and it's subjective. You know, I don't believe in it's because if you're in the Bay Area, a person may say, "Yo, I think Too Short is top 5 ever." If I'm in Atlanta, someone might throw up 3 stacks. You know, if I'm in Jersey, someone might say Redman. You know, so what do you think about that concept when we're trying to like build this hierarchy of who the best MC of all time is? And then 2, if you do believe in that, who do you think is the GOAT?
Well, the thing is this, as far as the concept of the GOAT, it all depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking about financial gratification? Are you talking about punchlines or metaphors?
What we're talking about?
Are you talking about multi-syllabic?
Your discography and what you do in that booth.
Exactly. It all depends. They're different categories, so I can't say. So I can't say that there's one GOAT of everything. You see what I mean? Because you know some are better than one than the other. You see what I mean? And then there are artists which may be better than. There may be artists which is unknown, which may be better at certain things than artists that are known, but we just don't know who that person is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like Immortal Technique said in the song, "I write this for the illest MCs that'll never be known." You know, and that's when I used to rap, and I heard that song, and I was like, "Damn," you know, I felt like he was talking to me. But you know, that's kind of a conclusion akin to what I came to. I think it's subjective, and what I tell people is I don't really have a top 10 list because there are too many artists, too many different criteria to look at. But what I will tell you is that I have kind of like an objective, almost as objective as I can be top 10, and then my personal favorite artists. Since you're from Jersey, I got to tell you this, one of my favorite MCs ever is Chino XL. Now, when I try to say that, yo, Chino XL should be the GOAT, I would never say that, but Chino is, I got some of his music from when he was in Art of Origin, stuff from like 91, 92, but he was always one of my favorite MCs. So that's kind of how I feel about the GOAT talk. But look, man, we're wrapping this up. Once again, I want to thank you for coming on. And I want to allow you to have this time, man. Oh, no doubt, man. I want to allow you to have this time, man, to talk about any particular projects, anything that the world need to look out for that you got coming up.
Hey, well, the thing about it is that, you know, like I said, you know, I'm working on Libre Realty, you know, which is coming very soon. You know, I'm working on other things as well, but I don't want to talk about them, you know, right now. You know, it's all respect, it's all love. But the thing is that, but the thing about it is that, you know, with things of that nature, I'd rather just, you know, do my studies, work alone, and then when the time is right, then present it to the world, and then from there we could all make things happen and we could prosper. But I'm working on Libre Realty, the Libre brand. Apparel is still selling. You know, got a couple of orders from America and also, you know, South Africa as well. You know, thankfully, so we're still sustaining since 2012. You know, thankfully, which is honorable as well. And also, you know, right now, just in the middle of just making things happen so that we could advance in the 21st century and beyond.
All right. Well, listen, brother, I thank you for coming on, man. It's been a long time coming. I'm deeply appreciative of you coming on the platform. I can't wait to put this episode out. Oh, no doubt, brother. No doubt, man. And listen, man, it makes my heart warm when I see the moves that you're making out in Jersey. I always said, like, if I'm in the tri-state area, what you said?
And your moves in Virginia.
I'm working out here, man. And I said, dude, when I'm in Jersey, tri-state area, I'm gonna reach out to you, brother, because we definitely got a link. Yeah, man, we got a link in Big Bread in person, man. And real quick before we get off here, tell people your social media handle so they know how to follow you.
Oh yes. You can follow me on Instagram, Libre Brand, Libre. Libre and then Brand, BRAND. Right here, Libre Brand right here. You see what I mean? LIBREBRAND, Libre Brand, and then the website is www.librebrand.com for the clothing. You see what I mean? And then from there, you could go on, my website, BarutiLibre.com, BARUTILIBRE.com for my articles and also for some Libre Brand exclusive as well. A little bit of my perspective, so you could catch me over there too.
All right. Well, listen, man, once again, thank you for coming on. And this has been episode 63 of No Truce Barred. We had the powerful Baruti Libre on today. And this episode is going to be up. And make sure you're following me on Instagram at Hoyt, HOYT _Kwaku, KWAKU _Timmons. That's TIMMONS. Also, make sure you follow my new page, which is _No Truce Barred. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, which is No Truce Barred Timmons. Also, make sure you follow my YouTube channel, which is the No Truce Barred Podcast. Thank you. Much love. Take care and peace.
Much love. Peace.
Much love, y'all.